Boston and I read the Action Bible every night before bed. Yes, it is this Action Bible right here that is an amazing resource, and we use it as it really brings to life God's story for the kids. I mean, it is the Bible in comic book format. Needless to say, it's awesome, and Boston and I, we've enjoyed walking through this together over the last year. Well, it was the other night that he and I were in Acts 12, and in this chapter we see Peter's miraculous escape from prison. I mean, Herod had put Peter in prison, heavily guarded, with the intent of having him killed. And it was the next day that he found out that Peter had escaped. The word says that Herod had the guards responsible for Peter put to death. And Herod then left Judea to stay in Caesarea. While there, a few days later, Herod appeared at a public celebration. I mean, there he came on stage wearing his dazzling royal robes. I mean, the people began to shout. They began to praise him. They began to flatter him and essentially worship him. But take a look at this picture. It's this picture right here. As you can see, it's Herod on stage being worshiped by these people. So Herod accepted this praise. And it says that the Lord struck him down with disease, and he ended up dying weeks later. Cool story, huh? Well, it was in this moment that Boston speaks up and says they shouldn't be praising this man like that. I mean, they are worshiping him out of the mouth of babes, right? I mean, this is straight truth. Only God deserves this type of praise and worship. But what Boston says next was, well, I'm glad that we don't have that today. I mean, that was back in the old days. At this moment, what Boston said, sadly, is how most of us view idol worship. I mean, when we think of idol worship, it sounds like an ancient tradition. I mean, we hear idol worship and we think of the Israelites worshiping the golden calf. I mean, we then think we don't worship statues. We aren't like those of ancient days who worship nature and they worship the sun and so on. But I'm here to say you're wrong. Idol worship was, it is, and it always will be a major problem. It is a major sin against God. It isn't just one of many sins. It is the sin that all other sins stem from. It is a problem, and our society is plagued with this sin, and Satan has done a great job of keeping us blind to it. Before we go further, what is an idol? I mean, let's define it. It is a thing or a person. It is a thing loved or a person loved more than God, wanted more than God, desired more than God, treasured more than God, enjoyed more than God. And just so you know, we all can say that God is number one, but God isn't really impressed with us voicing our worship of him. He would rather see it in action. Your real God will show in the way that you live your life. So back to the lesson that I was able to teach Boston through this. I quickly grabbed my phone and I pulled up these images and proceeded to walk him through every one of them, showing him how our society is more guilty of idolatry than anyone. Sadly, society has no idea as we have been programmed and we don't even see it. Sports teams and athletes, celebrities in Hollywood, politicians, theme parks, food, musicians. This list goes on and on and on. I mean, we, especially in America, are so out of control, addicted to entertainment and excitement that we don't even realize that we are no different than the ancient idol worshipers we read about. If anything, we are worse. And it is insane to me that we can't even see how flagrantly disrespectful and disobedient this is to the one who created us and gives us life. I mean, let's just call out the blunt truth here. We don't fear God. We in this culture are so fat and so sleepy, and I see it every Sunday when I walk into church. People won't even raise their hands to worship the only one who deserves praise. But we'll be the same people screaming at the top of their lungs for their favorite sports team and debating who is the GOAT, LeBron or MJ. I mean, people spend more time studying NFL football stats to manage their fantasy football leagues than they do studying the scriptures. It's just madness and it's unacceptable. And God is eventually going to deal with this. This addiction to entertainment and excitement is damaging both spiritually and culturally. I mean, it is rampant in the U.S. I mean, don't deny it. Let's just call it what it is. It is our religion. It is like religion to many today. This religion has a God. It's called self. This religion has priests called celebrities. This religion has a prophet, never-ending entertainment. This religion has scriptures, the tabloids and the entertainment, news and informational programs. This religion has places of worship, amusement parks, theaters, concert halls, sports arenas. And we could say that every television and internet connection has a little chapel. We must understand that this religion seduces us into living our lives for one thing, the thrill of the moment. But these thrills are quickly over and forgotten, and all that is important is the next fun thing. This religion conditions us to only ask one question: is it fun? It never wants us to ask more important questions such as, is it right? Is it true? Is it good? And is it godly? I mean, why would Satan want us to answer those questions? The last thing he wants us to do is wake up from this nonsense. He wants us to stay asleep. My friends, our culture is asleep and is walking towards death. Bottom line, idolatry is dangerous. Why? Well, namely because the wrath of God is coming upon idolatry. Nothing is more dangerous than the wrath of an omnipotent, all-righteous God, and the scriptures declare that his wrath is coming on those who worship idols. Now, why would that be? Well, listen to Exodus 20. You shall not make for yourself a carved image, or any likeness, or anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. The wrath of God comes on the idolater because God is jealous. There is a righteous and a holy jealousy, and an unrighteous and weak and insecure jealousy. And God's jealousy is not only righteous, that is, he deserves our deepest and strongest affections and admiration, but it is loving. It is a loving jealousy because we were made to find our greatest joy when he is our greatest treasure. Guys, this is serious and we must deal with it. We must stop what we are doing and make the assessment and then be willing to cut it out. Idols, they have to die. They must be removed. The throne of our hearts are made for God and nothing else. And this is why there are problems when God isn't on the throne. This is why we experience problems and stress and drama when our lives are not centered around him. Our idols, they need to be dismembered for us to be free of them. And Jesus knows what they are and how to help us to see them. I believe in this time of this pandemic, the Lord is showing us how real our love for entertainment is, and he has been helping us to remove these things from our life. It may feel like we are losing our world to lose them, and that's okay. It was Jesus who said, whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. In other words, Jesus is saying, those who are willing to give up the world for me will find real life. But those who choose the world and all that it offers instead of me will lose their life. So are you willing to lose your life for Jesus? Are you willing to give up these idols so Jesus can take the place he deserves? He alone deserves to be worshiped. He alone deserves to be praised and loved with all that we have. He, my friends, is the only one that is worthy of praise and worship.